Hello, everybody. I'm very excited to bring you my very first trailer breakdown. I will be picking apart the second trailer of Game of Thrones Season 6. The exciting thing about this season is that we are all caught up with George R. R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series, so I won't be able to spoil anything for you because I love reading the books. So without further ado, let's jump into this first shot. We see here we are at the wall. We have Davos and some of the Night's Watch. Maybe that's Dolores Ed, I think, on the right there. But more interestingly, we see these guys all ready for battle. We also see Ghost in the background there. And if you look right behind Davos, you see none other than Jon Snow. What looks like to be a pyre of some sort. So this is really interesting because obviously we left off Season 5 with the shocking death of Jon Snow. And of course everybody out there on the internet's thinking, he's got to be coming back. We got the Red Priest, Melisandre, in the same by Castle Black, so she could possibly resurrect him with the Lord of Light. We don't know, but more important, like, who's going to try to get Jon Snow? I guess maybe some more of the Night's Watch are out to reclaim him and burn him for good. Whether or not, I don't know how Davos even got Jon Snow to begin with. What's going to happen with him, we really don't know. So moving on to the next shot, we have a close-up of Jon Snow. Yeah, just continuing off what I said on the previous shot is we really don't know what's going to be the fate of Jon Snow. I mean, I thought at the beginning of reading the series, A Song of Ice and Fire, maybe he would be the ice and Daenerys would be the fire. But that theory is kind of snuffed out when he got killed, so who knows? Moving on, we have Tormund Giantsbane along with his wildling buddies, which appears to me that they are north above the wall. I mean, it looks in the background there. There's a lot of snow. It looks, if you look over his shoulder, it looks like they have a camp set up, with their kind of backwards ways, as you can call it. They're savage kind of people. But we'll see because Tormund Giantsbane, he was kind of promised by Jon that they would live, on the other side of the wall to make a truce to fight against the White Walkers that we've seen hit hard home very, very hard. So Jon was going to get them all on one side, and we know how that went with his fellow Night's Watchmen for Jon. Next shot, we have a very ominous looking building, a temple in the middle of what looks like a very, very big storm, a maelstrom of some sort. I'm guessing this is kind of the pyramid of Marine, but I could be wrong. It has the feel of Dragonstone to me, but we shall see. Next up, we have shot of Jaime Lannister talking to this High Sparrow, which, as you remember, was the leader of the militant group, the Faith Militant, who came in and tried to undo all the lies and the bad stuff that was happening in King's Landing with the corruption. So we still see they are going to be a big threat to the throne. So Jaime Lannister, as the King's Guard, is going to try to put a stop to this once and for all, even if he's going to have to get in there and fight him himself. This is one of the best shots in this trailer. I mean, it looks, Drogon is flying over a Khalasar, probably the same Khalasar that is going to be taking Daenerys prisoner at the end of Season 5. You gotta look at the production of Game of Thrones, and just every year they outdo themselves. So it looks just awesome. I can't wait to see what Drogon looks like in Season 5, because they always step up their game with creating the dragon animations every year. Moving on, we have a shot north above the wall with what looks like Bloodraven and Bran Stark. And as you remember, Bran Stark wasn't in Season 5 at all, and that was mainly because they kind of ran out of storyline. They didn't want to go too much further into Bran's storyline. Obviously, he's a warg, so he has a mentor that he met at the end of season 4 called Bloodraven, who is kind of like intertwined with the werewood trees. And he actually was recast as Max von Sydow, who you might know from a little movie called Star Wars The Force Awakens. So they're going to have this bond, and we'll see how far Bloodraven takes the abilities of Bran Stark and uses them. Another shot here of Bran Stark in mid-warg. As you can see, his pupils are completely white here. His eyeballs are white. And going on that theme, we have a blind Arya Stark. As you remember, at the end of season 5, she got blinded by Jaquan Guar, who you can see in the background there. So how will she do anything in this season? We're gonna have to watch to find out. As you know, she was Cat of the Canals going around, and she killed Sir Meryn Trent at the end. That was one gruesome scene at the end of season 5. So Jaquan Guar really doesn't like how she's abusing her power as being from the two-faced god or whatever. So that is really interesting. Next up, we have the only shot of Daenerys in this whole trailer, which I'm surprised. She's been the prominent, almost, if there is a lead for this series, kind of the lead in this series next to Peter Dinklage's Tyrion Lannister. So, I mean, Daenerys is going to be in a position almost like she was in season 1, I'm speculating, because now she was surrounded at the end of season 5 with an entire Khalasar. So, she goes from commanding the entire city of Meereen to now pretty much being broken down as a slave, it looks like, at this point, because they're just tearing her clothing off of her. So how will she get out of this alive? I'm sure Drogon's going to play some sort of role in that. Moving on, we have Walder Frey, who we haven't seen since season 3, and I'm kind of happy it's taken this long to get back to him, because this guy is an asshole. He pretty much put into motion, along with the help of Roose Bolton, the Red Wedding assassinate massacre of the Starks. So this guy, he's looking in a great mood. I think we got Black Walder on his right, which also had a hand in killing off the Starks. And, this guy's just celebrating like, life couldn't be better. I'm one with the Lannisters, and but the Lannisters anymore, they're not doing so great. So yeah, his alliance is kind of crumbling probably at this point. His power's going lower, I assume, but he's still enjoying life apparently. Next up, we see Peter Baelish, a.k.a. Littlefinger. Last we've seen him, he was at Winterfell handing off Sansa Stark to none other than Ramsay Bolton. And he kind of disappeared. He made this power play where he would be able to move the Vale's army or something to pretty much attack the Lannisters or something. He made some sort of power play. Peter Baelish is always up to something. So we'll see if he survives another season somehow. Here we have a shot of Jorah Mormont. And as we know, he was touched by a stone man and given grayscale. So this is a disease that'll it's like a parasite, and it just travels through your whole body, and it'll eventually take over your mind and turn you into a monster, basically, of what attacked him. Funny thing is, in the books, Tyrion Lannister is the one that gets the grayscale, and Jorah Mormont doesn't. So this is one of those instances where, as a book reader, I was very surprised watching the show, thinking, the whole time Tyrion's going to get it, and they just switched it on us. So we'll see what happens with Jorah. He's one of my favorite characters, so I hope they get him help. He needs to get that stopped, because if you look at Stannis' daughter, she had grayscale, but it got stopped, so she was okay. So there is medicine out there, but you got to be really rich to get it, sort of thing. Next up, we have Marjorie Tyrell and Loras Tyrell. As last we found them, they were in prison, being persecuted by Cersei, who was, at a constant invisible battle with Marjorie Tyrell the entire time. Funny part was, after Cersei threw Marjorie and Loras in there, herself got thrown in and then had to take that walk of shame. So But these two look like they're certainly in distress. So I'm wondering what's exactly going on here. Next up, we have hands down my favorite character in A Song of Ice and Fire and of Game of Thrones is Sir Davos Seaworth, aka the Onion Knight. He was in the first shot I showed you, but looking at this shot, he has the bannerman, the bannerman of the Stark behind him. Obviously, on that flag, the banner, you see the sigil of House Stark. So this storyline is really awesome because you've seen how Davos was protecting Jon Snow in that first one. So now are they going to be attacking Winterfell? I'm thinking Davos is leading a charge against Roose Bolton's army, which apparently Stannis got crushed by him. So I don't know. Maybe Davos is going to combine his forces with the Wildlings somehow and take out Roose Bolton. I'm really excited to see this. Next up, this is so interesting. We have Varys, we have Tyrion Lannister, and we have the Red Priestess Melisandre, all obviously in Meereen. Now, how the hell Melisandre got from the Wall, Castle Black, all the way to the other side of the world to Meereen? That is one long journey. Like that must have taken her like 3 months to get there, because that's just a vast amount of water and sea she's got to go. And I'm very interested to see what these three are discussing. This is going to be a huge power play for the future. This to me is one of the most intriguing shots in the entire trailer. We have some no-name guy getting stabbed by another character, which I am not sure who he is. What I will say is his sigil is very, very fascinating, because that is none other than the Targaryen sigil. So as we know, the only Targaryens that are really around at this point is really just Daenerys. So I'm going to hold off on what I think it is, because there could be a potential spoiler here for anybody that has read the books. But I will leave it at that. I mean, looking at the landscape in the background there, that to me looks like Westeros. And even if you look at the guy that he's stabbing, it's obviously a Westerosi knight with the mail. So they are in Westeros, but is this guy Targaryen? Did he just steal the armor of an older Targaryen person who uses it himself? We shall watch and see. Next up, we have a meeting between Cersei and Tommen. Now, Cersei is looking, at least she's clothed this time. I wonder how that ordeal has messed with her mind. That whole walk of shame. And Tommen looking like in a pretty sullen mood. As we know, he's not a very good leader. He kind of just takes advice from his mother and just uses that. He doesn't really think for himself. He's very timid, which is not a very good quality for a leader, because you got to be stern and, be passionate about what you believe in. So we'll see how their relationship unfolds in season 6 here. Next up, we have, and there's no real surprise here, the Mountain. And as you know, Oberyn Martell in that awesome duel poisoned him, and somehow Qyburn has brought him back from the dead. So we have, and here we go with that kind of fanatical stuff seeping into Game of Thrones. We have pretty much an undead character. I can't wait to see Mountain kick some ass. Yep. Next up, we have what looks like a big battle about to happen at Baelor's Sept. We have on the horse, it looks like that's going to be Jaime Lannister, Kingsguard, going to speak with the High Sparrow about the Fate Militant, and it looks like they're going to just take them guys by force, because they had enough. They had enough with all the disorder that's going on in King's Landing. Next up here, we have the return of the Greyjoys, and you might not recognize that guy in the background, but I am pretty sure that's Euron Greyjoy, aka the Crow's Eye, I believe he was called in the books. So yeah, we have Yara, aka Asha from the books. As you last know, like her brother Theon, or he would like to say Reek, just didn't want to get her help to get rescued. So what is her agenda going to be? We'll have to watch to find out. And this is a very, very intriguing shot of the White Walkers kind of just setting flame to something. Did they get out of the north there, and are they going to be poised to attack the south? Because we keep hearing Davos say there's a more important war out there than just the fighting of the houses. Everybody's got to band together for the long night, which is aka the White Walkers are going to come attacking us. So very, very cool image right there of the flames, the White Walkers. Next up, we have a ship in a very, very rough kind of sea setting. This could be none other than a Greyjoy ship. I'll be very surprised if it isn't, because this season, as a couple shots earlier I mentioned, this return of the Greyjoys. We have Theon has uncles. He has Victorian Greyjoy and Euron Greyjoy, as well as Aeron Dampweed, who's kind of like the drowned god guy who we've seen in season 2. So the Greyjoys are going to make a presence, and they're going to do the Reaver. So they're going to make a presence real known. I can't wait to see some Greyjoy action again for sure. These guys mean business. Next up, we have Samwell Tarly and Gilly. Looks like they are deeply in thought here, and you know, Gilly's comforting Sam. You know, it's probably very hard for him to leave Castle Black. He's probably getting news that his his friend Jon Snow has been murdered. This is probably the scene where he finds out, because as we know, he's on a mission to go learn how to be a Meister in Old Town, all the way in the other complete opposite end of the wall. I mean, this is all the way by Dorne, all the way down the south of, So we'll see how Sam's journey unfolds. And yeah, just as you thought we might have been done with the Sons of the Harpy, looks like they're still at large, causing havoc in the slave cities. And we have this bastard, literally a bastard, Ramsay Snow. Now, what is he going to be up to this season? I remember he led like the charge of the army against Stannis. You know, what's he going to be doing this season? Is he going to be trying to hunt down Theon? I'm sure he will be. And speaking of Theon, we have Sansa Stark. Her story has really, really gotten interesting. Way more interesting than the books portray her, where she's just sitting at in the Vale for like 3 books. I mean, she's now with Theon and they're on the run. So really great storyline. One of the most looked forward to ones, for me so far. And speaking of Sansa, that I'm pretty sure that's Sansa right there in that shot of Theon, and there's a tear coming down. So is he breaking from Reek, and is he turning back into Theon with the help of Sansa? Because Theon was able to break down and tell her that he did not burn Rickon and Bran, but it was the 2 farmers' boys. So what's gonna happen? I can't wait to see that relationship unfold. You know, he used to live in the castle Winterfell with Sansa as the ward for his whole life since he was like 10. So they got a long history together. We'll see where that takes them. Next up, we have Brienne of Tarth, aka Captain Phasma, and Podrick Payne. Looks like they're at Riverrun, because if you can look in the back, it looks like there's a fish on that banner. So, last we seen Brienne of Tarth, she looked like she was going to decapitate Stannis. Of course, it cut to black. I really refuse that she killed Stannis. I think Stannis is going to just be in like the first episode and be like, I never got killed, or something like that. Just pop out of nowhere, because why would you cut the black on such an important character? And I feel like Brienne really couldn't do that. I feel like she would come all that way and chicken out of killing Stannis. And next shot we have Podrick Payne, and he is in the middle of being grabbed by somebody from behind, but he is also on what looks like the battlefield. They're prepping up. I'm pretty sure it's the Lannisters going to war with some other army. I'm thinking it might be the Starks again. You know, the Starks probably going to come down with Davos and take Winterfell, then move down to try to take King's Landing again. Maybe that'd be pretty cool. I mean, I don't know who would be the leader of the Starks. I mean, we've seen Davos was kind of in the front charge there, although he is a he's not even, he's part of the Stannises, but I guess not anymore. I guess they can have one of the other lords of Stark, Manderly maybe, or somebody like that. And closing out the final scene or shot I have here, and this is one hell of a shot to leave off on, is Tyrion Lannister looking into the den of the dragons. As we know, Drogon is no longer there, so that leaves us with Rhaegal and Viserion, which I think is the goldish kind of dragon and a green dragon, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, it just doesn't, I mean, how can you stand there and the dragon after it just actually starts like blowing fire out? So there's no way they can kill Tyrion. If they do, we'll riot. It's just that simple. But that is gonna do it for my trailer breakdown. So what did you guys think of my video? Feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below if you want to discuss more of season 6. Keep that conversation going. Heads up, I'm also going to have a weekly Game of Thrones show that's a recap of every episode, so stay tuned for that. To stay tuned, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel where you'll also find other videos such as my recent reaction to Rogue One. You can follow me on Twitter at Starrapter, as well as like my Facebook page on Starrapter. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care.